Hello and welcome to another Talk to Stu video with me, Stuart Magoo. So, in this video today I'm going to be answering one of the most popular questions that I'm asked when on my YouTube channel, as well as in my actual day-to-day work. And this question is relating to what evidence can a person provide in support of their PIP claim when they have a mental health condition. So, as we know, if you have a mental health condition that it has a significant impact on your daily living and maybe affects your ability to be able to work, then you may well be eligible to apply for PIP. And while that sounds great in principle, it's notoriously difficult to be able to demonstrate or get across to the PIP assessors how your mental health condition affects you on a day-to-day basis. Part of the difficulty with that is mental health conditions are different for everybody, even if it's a condition that many people have. Each particular person is going to be affected in a moderately different way to each other. So, for example, somebody who might have a condition like bipolar disorder, who may have manic periods, might actually have those periods very well controlled with the medication that they're on and also the adjustments that they're making to their life. That's going to make them less eligible to claim PIP. Only less, a little bit less, but doesn't mean it's impossible. But then getting across what it is that that person's doing to manage and minimize those episodes is important. So that gives you a stronger or a greater chance of being eligible for it. So one of the things that can be really helpful is having supporting evidence, written supporting evidence preferably. So, first of all, are you receiving support of any kind from any NHS practitioners? So you may have a psychiatrist, a psychiatric nurse, a therapist, a support worker, a counsellor, somebody like this who you are accessing through either primary or secondary care within the NHS. So primary care is when you go for a service through your GP. Secondary care is when your GP refers you to a hospital or specialist department where they would then look after you and look after your conditions. So in either primary or secondary care, you may have somebody who's working with you like this. If so, and you're in regular contact with them or have regular appointments, whatever, get in touch with them and see if they would be able to write a report for you to support what you're saying. It might be that they have a really good knowledge of the things that you've had to do to be able to kind of cope with your condition. They may also know about episodes that you're having when actually those coping mechanisms maybe aren't working and you have some kind of relapse or recurrence of your symptoms that has a significant impact on you. In the case of a person with severe anxiety and depression, it might be that a recurrence of their symptoms means that they can't leave their house for a week or two until they've managed to get on top of things again. For somebody with bipolar disorder, it might mean that they have a more manic episode. For somebody with schizophrenia, it might mean that they have a much more difficult time interacting with people and find that their mood and their behaviour from their mood is quite changeable. Whatever it is, the professional will be able to get that across quite well in the document. Now, the other thing to consider is people who provide any form of care or support to you. So that could be a professional, not from within the NHS, maybe from an organisation like Mind, who is helping you regularly, even if it's only once every 3 months, checking in on you and making sure things are going well. Or it could be that you're seeing them on a much more regular basis and they're supporting you with day-to-day living in different ways. They might be a private carer, it might be somebody that you pay to come in and support you, and they may be from a professional care agency, or they might be somebody that you employ directly. Equally, it could be a friend or a family member who helps you out with things. have a chat with them again in the same way and see if they're able to write a statement about the support that they give you and also how they observe your condition affects you. Now, this next one is also quite important to consider. If you're doing a reassessment for your PIP form, so you've been claiming it for a while and then they've got in touch with you saying, we want to review your claim, here's another form, please fill it out, send us any extra evidence that you have along with that. You might think, well, I've already made a claim, and with that claim I submitted some evidence, so they'll still have that, so I should not have to worry about that evidence that I've already submitted. Well, you'd hope that that would be true, but actually you will find it quite beneficial if you have copies of those reports that you previously submitted or are able to get copies of it and resubmit them and just refer to those in the additional information section, which is most commonly known as question 50 on the form. If you refer to those documents and say, although these reports were written for my previous application, everything that's written in this is still current at the moment. Nothing has changed, particularly if your condition hasn't changed at all. Obviously, if you are doing a reassessment and you have a copy of your old form, it's really good to use that old form and go back and take information from that and put it into the new one if it is still current and if you were successful in the first place, which if you're doing a renewal, you probably were. So do bear that in mind. Just because you submitted it before doesn't mean you can't submit it again, and indeed if you don't draw attention to those reports in some way or another in your form, then it may be that they're not taken into account when they do the reassessment. Okay, so they will be looking to see if your condition has changed or if the way your condition affects you has changed when they do a reassessment. So if it hasn't changed, you need to make sure you communicate that it hasn't. Another thing to provide information about is any upcoming assessments or treatments that you may be having through the NHS. Okay, so it might be that you're currently going through further investigations into your mental health condition, or they're looking into new kinds of treatment for you, and you've got some appointments coming up in the next year or two. Or you were expecting appointments to happen during, say, the pandemic, when everything's been cancelled pretty much, and those things have been sort of pushed into the future, and you're still waiting for those things to come through. So anything that is coming up that shows that you're still getting treatment and that you're still going through the NHS is really useful, and please do add that to your application. However, with that said, they don't need to necessarily know about every appointment you've been to. So if you've got old appointment letters that refer to appointments that you've been to, it's not necessary to provide those at this stage. Okay. That said, the fifth thing you need to think about is your medical records. Okay, so since the last time your PIP claim was looked at, if you're doing a renewal, you won't have, they won't have had any information about what's been happening to you, medically speaking, since that last application. And obviously, if you're applying for the first time, they won't have any of your medical information at all. What the best thing to do here is get in touch with your GP and see if they can provide you with a copy of your medical records. And do remember to specify the period that you want your medical records to cover. If you want all of your medical records or all of the entries on their system about your medical records, then that could take quite a long time for them to print out. If, for example, you're just doing a renewal and the period that they're covering is 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, then say that to them and they will just give you the evidence that you need for that period. Generally speaking, this is a free service, as it is a legal requirement that all organisations provide you with your data at no cost to you upon your request. Okay, it's your data, so you should be able to have access to it all of the time. Now, if you ask a GP for a letter for example, to be written or for some extra work on that level, then you may be charged administration fees. But for a simple printout copy of your medical records that they keep on their system, they should provide you this at no cost. However, do bear in mind that GP services at the moment are severely under pressure. They are facing a huge amount of cuts and a hell of a lot more work, plus this pandemic on top of all of that, which has doubled things up. It can be difficult to have certain services provided to you very quickly. So do request these at the earliest opportunity to give them time to be able to produce what you need before your form has to be returned. Okay. So those are some of the areas of evidence that are quite useful to you when making an application, particularly regarding mental health. Okay, it's really important to get across to the personal independence payment assessors the daily living challenges that you have and the adjustments that you make going throughout the day in order to be able to manage your condition effectively and to live your life. Okay, so the more detail that you put into the form about that, the better. But do bear in mind that the descriptors are really important as well. It's that point system, so you have to demonstrate certain things. So if those things are of benefit to you, then do do give my videos on how to apply for PIP a watch. It's 3 videos, it's quite long, but if you're going through the form, that's going to take you quite a long time anyway. So there's step-by-step instructions taking you from the first phone call and starting the application process to filling out the form, and also covering the aspects that you need to consider as well for the face-to-face or telephone interview. So that can be really useful if you're going through that process. Don't forget as well that there most likely are local services in your area that may be able to provide free support with filling out and completing the form. So do check locally to see if any local services can help you with that. Do bear in mind that they do have quite long waiting lists at the moment, and that those waiting lists are, generally speaking, compounded again by the whole COVID pandemic situation. So if you're applying for the first time, get in touch with them first before you phone up to get your claim started. Okay. That will help them sort out their timescales. The CAB is usually one of the better places to go if you're in the right age group. Age UK often have form filling services, but even organisations that you might not expect will also be able to help you with this. If you are receiving, for example, if you have a mental health condition and you are receiving support from an organisation like Mind, it may well be that your support worker is able to help you fill that form in. So do check and see if you can get any support from somebody who's quite knowledgeable. And as always, if you think I might be able to help you in any way, do pop along to my website, talktostu.co.uk, or, and this is really important, don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and check out my other videos, because you may well find that there are some things there that can help you too. Thanks for watching.